Hey everyone, it's me, the Retro Dan. So a few days ago, me and a friend were looking for a co-op game to spend some hours in, and we remembered that some time ago Steam actually gave out Warhammer Vermintide 2 for free, so we decided to try it out. Warhammer Vermintide 2 is a co-op hack and slash set in the Warhammer universe after the first Vermintide game. In the game, you can play with one of the 4 heroes from the first game, each with unique abilities and traits that encourage different playstyles. I personally chose Bardin, who is this silly little dwarf that's constantly singing and telling jokes, and I like dwarves in general, so I decided to play him.
Anyway, no sense stalling, Dory. Heroes mighty, heroes strong, to dark and depths we march the throng.
The base game is divided in 3 acts, each featuring 4 missions, with the last one always being the boss for the act. The missions themselves have very different objectives, such as defending points and payloads or killing hordes of enemies and freeing prisoners. The main loop of the game is all about completing missions whilst collecting the most amount of collectibles and getting bonuses to get better loot crates at the end of each mission. The better the chest, the better the gear power, which in turn lets you access higher difficulties with higher graded loot to make your character stronger. Playing as Bardin, my first class consisted of more ranged gameplay, with me having increased drop rates for ammunitions inside of the missions and an ability which hides me from enemies, giving me time to clear space or escape from damage. When playing the game, you can either choose the quick play mode or host your own private matches. The quick play mode was the one I played first, since I could match with other players online, but I quickly found out that it had quite a few downsides. The quick play mode doesn't follow the missions you have already completed, so it led to me completing missions from the 3rd act of the game, skipping over half of Act 1 and the entirety of Act 2. The other downside is in regards to the matchmaking. The few matches I did alone, I managed to get matched with 3 other players who simply decided to do their own thing and refused to communicate in order to get more tomes or to help each other when someone was in trouble, which made the experience quite awful if I'm being honest. The game also had a huge cosmetic shop, which I didn't bother messing with too much, since I understand as a live service game which has been going on for years, they do have to make profit out of it somehow. Myself, I only got to the end of Act 1, I played some of Act 2 and 3 and I quite liked what I played. I didn't get too involved in the loot system, since at the earlier levels all you're doing is basically picking out the items that give you more item power and raw damage, since the skill check for missions isn't really that big, so you don't need to put any real big efforts into these deep systems. I also really liked the grim and dark fantasy level design of Vermintide as opposed to the bright megalithic structures of other Warhammer games like Space Marine, because it made the game uniquely grotesque. There is something fun about smashing the skulls of rats back to back that gets you hooked for hours and hours on end. From what I researched about the game, it can get pretty in-depth with melee combos, horde clearing and enemy priorities, which give this game a high skill ceiling, which is always good for players who want to spend more time in the game perfecting a craft and learning it to the maximum amount possible. Overall, I have a positive feeling about the game and I quite enjoyed everything I went through. Since this game is quite old at this point, I don't think I will bother diving too in depth into it, especially when there are other Tide games already out with the release of games like Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. But if you're looking for a deep co-op experience, you can enjoy it with your friends who might have also grabbed the game for free. This is certainly a game all of you can enjoy playing together. The game has a lot of available DLC to buy if you want more than it already offers with the free game, but the base game is necessary and good enough for you to have fun. I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Leave a comment so we can discuss whatever you want, if you want to talk about Warhammer, or maybe if you have some recommendations that would make me want to play more of this game in the future. I'll always be down to hearing that. But other than that, this has been the Retro Dan, and I'm out.